Hello to everybody. Welcome to our SAM PuttLab product demonstration. I hope you can all hear me. If you have not been using GoToMeeting yet, I will maybe start with explaining shortly how to use this program. Then I will explain a little bit where we come from, and then we will demonstrate how to use SAM PuttLab and explain about the technology and how to use it. The GoToMeeting socket has some limited function, but it's perfect to display my screen, to use a video, and to chat. You can communicate with me or with others by using the chat box, which is part of the GoToMeeting socket, or you might switch on and off your microphone. So if we are maybe becoming more and more during this presentation, you might turn on your microphone in between and switch it off again after your question. So if there are any questions, just write it in the chat or switch on your microphone, and we will then try to answer it the best we can. This seminar will also be recorded, so you will be able to also review it afterwards in some kind of a YouTube video. Okay, my name is Marquardt. I'm sitting actually in Munich, Germany, in my home office, as most of us are somehow sitting at home. We are looking forward to get back to normal, but this is a perfect time to also do some demonstrations, some seminars, and this is my home office. You see there's a small putting mat behind me, and we will be able to do this in here quite perfectly. I'm also the inventor of SAM PuttLab, and I will also talk a little bit about my background and how this system was developed afterwards. If everything is okay from your side, we might just start straight away. So I prepared a little bit of a program, but if you want to see different information, if you have specific questions, don't hesitate to ask, because this is actually why we do it. Okay. You can arrange your screen in a way that you might enlarge or downsize either the presentation window or the display of my screen and the video. So you can size it based on your needs. I think you don't necessarily need to see me, so it would be potentially an advantage to make the screen share as big as possible on your screen. Okay. Well, SAM PuttLab, and this is where we come from in the year 2003, first exhibiting our prototype at the teaching conference in Munich. And this was a time where the teaching conference was always combined with a European Golf Expo. And we had a lot of coaches there, about 1,200, I think. And two of the speakers were Dave Pelz and Henk Haney. And there was a German coach introducing us into this coaching and teaching community. So Dave Pelz came to our booth and Henk Haney came to our booth. And this is actually Dave Pelz hitting a couple of putts on this mat. And then our idea certainly was to present the data and to then ask these experts how they would be able to explain what we have measured. We were coming from a different field of research. I was doing before 20 years of research in movement learning and movement control. So the basis and the background of SAM PuttLab is pretty scientific, and we have put a lot of effort not only into designing a system which is as accurate as possible, we also put a lot of effort into a concept to understand the data, to present the data, and also a concept for teaching coaching, which is based on scientific and neuropsychological motor learning principles. I will maybe talk about this later if we talk about the report. Actually, what you see here is the raw data from 2003. We were invited by Dave Pelz and by Hank Haney to the US. It turned out that Dave Pelz was not really a big help, because actually he wanted to buy us out of the market because we were competitors to his teaching coaching concepts at this time. So we didn't work with Dave Pelz, but Hank Haney was very interested not only into our system to measure putting, he was also interested in understanding more about our background, because he was at this time suffering from yips, and so we had a session working on his yips. He was absolutely amazed about putting together motor science and golf and putting and teaching coaching in yips. And so this started to become a very close friendship. At this time, he started working with Tiger Woods and Marco Mira. So he then taught Marco Mira to overcome the yips. So this was where we all started. And so from the very beginning, we were able to work with very highly skilled players on the PGA tours with all the top level coaches. And this was the time where we developed our system, and where a lot of these players gave us a very beneficial input to design our software, our reporting, and to sort the information. And I will explain afterwards how we then would translate the information from the stroke and the data into teaching coaching concept. Okay, so far, any questions? Maybe I start with explaining a little bit what the system does and why the system is so specific. So actually what we do have is a receiver unit, and we have a sender. And there are two different technologies used to transmit the signals. One is ultrasound. And ultrasound is basically a position measurement system. And the second information which is sent out is infrared, and this is for synchronization. And basically this all is based on measuring sound waves, ultrasound waves, and we have decided to use this system because it is actually the most accurate technology to measure position which is out there. And the advantage is, if you can measure position, in particular in putting, you know where you are. And if you can measure position, then you can very accurately see where the putter is in space and where the different angles are. And as we know, in putting, everything is about accuracy. We decided to go this way. We had other technologies available, but we decided to use ultrasound because it's that accurate. You might certainly think about other technology today, like inertia sensors. Well, if you use inertia sensors such as BLAST or Captor, actually they don't measure position, and that's a problem. So they measure something in space, which is angle and acceleration. And now, based on this data, they try to simulate basically what the motion could have been. And you might understand that there are a couple of problems if you don't have an external reference where you are to be accurate in the range of much less than a degree. Because if we talk about tour players and skilled players, for example, for face rotation, we need to be accurate with the aim position for about 0.1 degree. And same for position, we need to be accurate, for example, for impact spot. And SAM PuttLab has proven to be accurate by less than 0.1 degree and 0.1 millimeter. This has been published also. scientifically. So this is definitely the most accurate system out there and still the reference for measuring putting and collecting data. There is a disadvantage that you have a receiver unit which you need to place in front of you, but actually the advantage to have accurate data relative to the target is absolutely worth, in particular if you're indoors, to use a receiver unit. And by going through the data, and we will look at our data afterwards in our reporting, we will also maybe look at tour players, you will see that this makes a lot of sense. The measuring range is about 1 square meter, so that's enough to just move freely in front of the unit. And there are other aspects which I might show you straight away if we start a measurement. Do you have any questions to the measuring principle?